The truth of the matter is they don't only need us in their life, they want us in their life. Now, let me tell you about Holly. And I think this exemplifies what parenthood is all about. And talk to anybody who's got kids in college. They'll tell you how quick those years go by. Our oldest daughter went to a place called Grove City College in Pennsylvania. And during the summer, I was sort of having fun, I think, at my wife's expense by telling her pretty soon you're going to have to say goodbye to your little daughter. In retrospect, I think I did it because I knew it was going to bother me. Okay? So whenever I told her that, she would do this. Whenever she cries, she just says, "Oh, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it." Well, the day comes. It's that fateful day where you take 2 cars to get all the freshman stuff, the rug and everything else you take to college. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. It's one of my all-time favorite stories. Because it's that time where you realize, wow, this is a new journey here, a new chapter. And you get to that precipice where you're in the room, you can hardly turn around in. You meet the parents of the roommate, you meet the roommate, but then it comes that time. Holly starts saying something like, it's time to go. And I just said to her, I said, I got to get out of here. And I felt claustrophobic. I literally ran out. I went out. I just sort of freaking out. My wife's behind me with Holly. They're about 50 feet behind me. I get up to the parking lot. And now her and her mother are now doing this back and forth, holding each other. And I still remember the sun just sort of gleaming off of them and thinking, stay right there. Don't come over here. I can't do this. As soon as I had the thought, she makes a beeline for me, okay? And she comes up to me and she puts her arms around me. She looks at me and she said, "Daddy, I love you so much." And I just lost it. You ever see a man cry where their whole body sort of does this lurching? Well, that's me. And I remember thinking, it's so weird. I'm in the parking lot and I'm reflecting back to her being 10 years old. And I'm just thinking, you can't be all grown up. Did I train her up right? Did I teach her everything she needed to teach? And finally, in true male style, I took her little waist. I said, "Holly, you got to go." And I flipped her around. You know what she did? She just left. And she got toward the corner of the dorm. And I said, "Holly, call us tonight." And she did one of these things over her shoulder, never turned around. Well, I was miserable. I said, "Let's get out of here." We drove up I-79 out of Pittsburgh toward Erie, Pennsylvania, stopped at a Red Lobster, ate a dead fish for lunch. Nothing helped because a part of me was gone. I knew she'd call. I was sitting there like a darn fool. 10 o'clock at night, she doesn't call. Finally, I cave in. I go to bed. I knew enough not to call her. I waited. The following Sunday, she calls. I'm telling you, I was so excited to hear that. We heard all about freshman week, what Pittsburgh looks like at night. And after we talked for probably 45 minutes, I said, "Holly, I got to ask you a question. When you were walking away from us, what were you thinking about last Sunday?" He said, "Daddy, it's funny you bring that up because I was thinking about this week." I said, "Well, what were you thinking about?" She said, "Well, I thought about the fact that you and Mommy had brought me up right. And now it was my turn to go and do it in life." This goes back to what we talked about on this broadcast. Start with the end in mind. What do you want that kid to be like? Well, about 4 or 5 years after that situation, that sad farewell, I was in Phoenix, Arizona, speaking to an auditorium about 3,000 people. And I was closing a seminar with this vignette because I think it symbolizes so much about what parenthood's all about. I see this young lady coming down the outside, and I looked and I thought, that girl looks like Holly. And she kept coming. "It's Holly." And I announced to the crowd, "It's Holly." And everybody stands up and gives her a standing ovation. I've been working like a dog for 2 hours. Nobody gave me a standing ovation. But she comes up and I got a mic on and she says, "Oh, Daddy," she said, "that was beautiful, but you got to learn to tell that story right." I said, "Honey, I told it. What are you talking about?" She said, "No, there's something I've never told you." I said, "What's that?" She said, "Well, I didn't turn around because I was crying. And I didn't want you and Mommy to think that I couldn't make it in life." Hey, parents, do you see how much your kid needs you to come alongside of them? Not to flaw pick, not to say you should, you can do better, just to come along life's journey with them. You do that, I'll tell you, you're going to have a great kid you're going to be proud of.